right, well, today I'm going to do a little bit more on factoring expressions. We talked about that yesterday in math class, but today I'm going to actually draw some things. I'd like for you to draw them in your notebook. We're going to draw a large rectangle like this, and I'm going to break it like that. I'm going to tell you that the rectangle over here to the far left is 8 units, and the larger one is 24 units. Now we know in order to find the area of this, we would take the base or the length times the height. Well, we don't know what those are, but we can always add these two together. So over here, we're going to write 8 plus 24. Just write the expression, don't solve it for me. Now what I would like for us to do is we're going to actually see if we can solve the length and the width. So we're going to put here an equal sign. And if we're going to put here, we need the greatest common factor. We're going to make something like the distributive property. We see that there's a plus, so we're going to put a plus. So we need to look at our greatest common factor sheet and determine which is the largest factor in 8 and 24. Well, most of you know, if you look at it, that 8 goes into both of these, so we'd put an 8 here. And 8 goes into 8 one time. And 8 goes into 24 3 times. So we've used the factoring expressions to solve that this side would be 8 and this side would be 1 plus 3. All right, let's draw another rectangle. Like this rectangle here in our notebook. And we'll make this one side over here to the left a little larger. We'll call that 80 units. And this one, 56 units. Okay, all right, so we know we have here 80 plus 56. We're going to do something a little bit different today, or on this next problem. So write this. We know we want to find the greatest common factor. This is a plus. So I'm going to look on my factor sheet and see if I can find the greatest common factor for 80 and 56. And the largest factor we have would be an 8. So we'll pull the 8 out. 8 goes into 80 10 times. And 8 goes into 56 7 times. Now we could say that the length here is 8. In order to find the area of this rectangle, it would be 8 times 10, which is 80. And in order to find the area of this rectangle, it would be 8 times 7 is 56. One more rectangle. This one I'm going to put a variable in. So this rectangle over here is going to have an area of 3x, and the larger one is going to be 18. In order to find the area of the entire shape, we would have to add those two together. However, I would like to know what is the length and the width of these rectangles. So once again, we're going to factor this expression. I'm going to look at my greatest common factor sheet and look at 3 and 18. And I want to see which is the greatest common factor. I think it's a 3. So we'll pull a 3 out. We'll put a parentheses and we'll put a plus. 3 times what would give me 3x? 3 times x. 3 times what would give me 18? That would be a 6. So we have just found out that over here, the height of this rectangle is a 3. That's what we factored out. The length of this one would be x, because 3 times x is 3x. And the length of this rectangle would be a 6, because 3 times 6 is 18. All right, to make sure that everyone is paying attention, up here on the top, I would like for you to put up here in the corner an X with a circle around it, and then we'll see how many of you are paying attention and did that. All right, let's keep going. All right, so let's do a little practice here. I'm going to give you these expressions. I'm going to give you 22 plus 11. And then I'm also going to give you the expression 84 plus 28. If you would please factor them out by finding the greatest common factor and making it look like the distributive property. You may begin. All right, if you didn't finish, pause your video so that you can. But if you looked at 22 and 11 on your greatest common factor sheet, you found that the largest factor you pulled out was an 11. We make our parentheses and we put a plus. 11 times what is 22? 11 times 2. However, some of us, like Matthew said, that you could take actually 22 and you divide it by 11. And he is correct. Multiplication and division are opposites. So then over here, I'm going to say 11 times what is 11? The answer is 1. Here is your final answer. Okay, let's look at this next one. 84 and 28. This one was a little bit more challenging. You had to look at your factor sheet to see what you could pull out. And actually, you could pull out the factor 28. 28 goes into both of these. 28 times what is 84? 28 times 3. And then obviously 28 times 1 is 28. Final answer. All right, what if I gave you one that actually had 2 variables in it? So for example, let's try 18m plus 38x. Could you please factor that one for me? All right, so you should be looking on your factor sheet, and you should notice that the only factor that goes into both of these is a 2. So we're going to pull a 2 out. We have a plus. 2 times what gives me 18m? Well, 2 times 9 is 18, but don't forget your m. 2 times what is 38? 2 times what is 38? Hopefully most of you know that 2 times 19 is 38. And don't forget your x. There's going to be one like this on your exit ticket. To see who's been paying attention, would you put a smiley face right there next to that problem? All right, last thing we're going to put in our notes. Would you please write these 4 distributive problems down in your notes? 3 times the quantity 8n plus 12. 4 times the quantity of 6n plus 9. 6 times the quantity of 4n plus 3. And 12 times the quantity 2n plus 3. I'm going to ask you to pause your video, and then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and tell me which one of these 4 does not belong. Which one does not belong with the other 3? All right, for those of you that actually paused your video and tried to do this, and those of you that don't know, watch carefully. I would have to solve these. Solve these means I would probably have to do the distributive property. 3 times 8, what is that? 24n. 3 times 12, that would give me the answer of 36. So this one gives me the answer 2n plus 36. Let's check this one. 4 times 6n, that would be 24n. 4 times 9 is 36. All right, let's check this one. 6 times 4 is 24n. 6 times 3, oh, That's 18. So right now I'm going to say this one doesn't look like it belongs, but let's check the other one. 12 times 2 is 24n, and 12 times 3, oh, thank goodness, this is 36. So right now I can tell you this one does not belong. Why? What's my reasoning? Because when I solved the distributive property, it gave me an expression of 24n plus 18, where the rest of them gave me 24n plus 36. All right, now that your lesson is finally over, the last thing I'm going to want to have you write in your note to see if you're paying attention is the phrase, math is awesome. All right, we'll check to see how many of you listened to your video and wrote those 3 things down.